Do you feel like your character designs are boring? Or maybe that the whole process of character design is confusing and you're not really sure what you're doing? That's exactly how Chashu felt when he did this character design right here. So what can we do to make his design more memorable and interesting? And how are you actually supposed to use reference properly? Today, I'm gonna fix this character design to make it more effective, as well as give some useful tips and tricks that can be used for future designs. And you'll want to stay tuned because I'll also tell him my secret character design practice regime that I use to quickly level up my character design skills. Okay, well, I do have an exercise for you that solves this for me, but it's not boxes! Boxes is for drawing. You know, to solve this, you have to... Let's start by taking a look at his character. This is Teofilo, the teenage sage. Chashu used Kasim's Discord bot to roll some attributes, then did his best to design a character to fit them. Lately, he's been working hard on his drawing and draftsmanship, and it really shows. Look at how much better this looks compared to his previous attempt. Behold the glow up. The first time Chashu did a critique, it was for this character named Freya, okay? Who is cute, but, you know, there are obviously some issues here. She is far too straight. And here is Chashu now. Big improvement, I'd say. In fact, this isn't the first time I've critiqued his design on my channel. You can check out the other video here. However, despite improved drawing skills, he was still having some problems with the character design process and wanted some help and feedback. So, let's get started. What's a good way of coming up with an interesting character concept? First, let's remind ourselves of what the purpose of character design is. It's to convey information about a character in a visual way. But what kind of information are we trying to convey? Two things we could potentially convey are the character's personality and backstory. Teofilo here used to work for a scriptorium, but he got caught up in some messy scriptorium politics and is currently suspected of murdering his mentor, so he's currently on the run. He also has a habit of pilfering ancient tomes and scrolls from his previous place of employment. I think Chashu actually did a great job of getting the general idea across. The cape and tunic do a good job of putting him in a Dungeons & Dragons-esque fantasy setting. And this mystical-looking book here indicates that he's a scholarly, sage-type character with an affinity for these old tomes. He's definitely also looking a little disheveled and worse for wear since he's currently exiled from his country. It's just that this character looks a little generic. How can we take the storytelling further? Looking at his background, it's clear that Teofilo really enjoys a good mystery. Like, really enjoys it. As in, unlocking an ancient mystery is worth the price of civilization. And to me, it makes sense to tie these ancient, potentially civilization-ending mysteries to one of these ancient tomes that this character cares so much about. Maybe that's why he keeps stealing them. In fact, the tome is so important to his character that it might actually be worth spending a bit of time doing some concepts for the tome itself. Remember that it's not just the character's outfit that can be used to help sell a character design. Props can contribute a ton, but that doesn't exactly completely solve the problem. Having a fancier book will certainly help, but it's not going to change the character design all that much. What else can we do to make the character more memorable and visually appealing? One thing I really like doing, even before I start sketching, is to think of a compelling visual concept, something to make the character stand out. Teofilo has a strong relationship with books, so let's try amping that relationship up to 10. Let's really emphasize how he feels about these ancient tomes. One way of making something stand out is just to make them really big. I start sketching out an idea where his tome was so enormous that he had it strapped onto his back like a backpack. And since he's exiled and running from the book police or something, he's probably constantly on the move. Where is he gonna put all this other stuff he stole? He'll probably have to keep them on his person, right? So I drew lots of bags and straps to carry books with. But what if I took that idea even further? Instead of having a giant book, what if he straps an entire bookcase to his back? After all, as a book lover, just dumping books into a backpack might damage them. Keeping them on a bookcase is much safer. If these ideas sound kinda silly to you, that's okay. When you're brainstorming and sketching, it's totally fine to go off the deep end with wacky ideas. After all, you're just brainstorming. You can always scale them back for your final design. In fact, that's exactly what I ended up doing. I went with the giant book idea since I liked the concept of an ancient evil tome that could end civilization. But I scaled it down from its original size so Teofilo could carry it at his hip instead. I wanted to keep his blue cape since I felt it was a fairly distinctive element of his original design, and a backpack might have interfered with it. And here's what we have so far. But we're not done. A compelling concept is only the beginning of a character design. How do we actually flesh out the details from here? So Chashu is having a bit of a problem.
A lot of the stuff is pretty much just directly copied from the ref, and I haven't really done too much to change anything.
Okay, I see. All right, yeah, I understand this problem because especially when you first start with design, it just feels like you're just combining different elements on the ref without actually doing any designing, right?
Yeah, basically that.
Gotcha. He understood that in order to effectively design characters, it's important to research and use references. But how are you actually supposed to use those references after you find them? Let me explain how I like to break down and use references. Let's use this book-carrying holster as an example. Chashu already had this cool strappy bag on his reference board, which I really liked. And I also found this reference of a live-action roleplay book holster. But I didn't want to copy this holster directly, so how can I break down this reference? The first thing I decided to use was the construction of the reference. How does this holster actually work? I paid special attention to how these straps attach and loop together. Look at the buckle and how the rivets work to keep the straps attached. I kept the construction mostly the same, though I changed the number of straps a little. And I also added an extra supporting strap here, since I imagined an ancient tome would be quite heavy. So it felt like it might fall out without that extra strap. But what's another way we can use references? We can look at a reference's shape, design, and language and use that. For this instance, I used the original drawing as a reference. In particular, these cool chains dangling down from the book. See how they're kind of hexagonal? I like that.
Hexagons are the bestagons.
I decided to try to use these hexagonal shapes throughout the character design, like on these O-rings over here. I also gave him a hexagonal-shaped brooch for his cloak. Repeating shapes throughout design can help it feel more cohesive. But you might be wondering, how did I know to make these changes? Just saying I made them doesn't explain how I knew to make them, right? So let me tell you about the most important and impactful character design practice that I've ever done. The one that helped me develop this skill. So everyone knows that in order to get better at something, you have to practice. If you want to get better at cooking, you need to cook. If you want to get better at drawing, you need to draw. And it's the exact same thing for character design. You practice character design by doing character design. So that's what I did in this 100 character design challenge. The goal is to go through the process of gathering research to design characters as quickly and frequently as possible. And don't worry if your first designs aren't so great. That's exactly why you're practicing in the first place, right? I actually had the same experience as Chashu when I first started. I felt like I was just copying references directly without really changing anything about them. But doing this is an important part of the process, because by doing this, you're gradually adding to your visual library. Having a big visual library is really important for concept art in general. As it expands, you can begin to mix and match ideas from that library, even without using a reference for every single little thing. It's also a lot of fun to do. Just remember that the sketches don't have to be good, they're for yourself. As long as you know what the designs are supposed to represent, it's fine. But anyway, for now, let's get back to the design. Because adding to your visual library isn't the only way we can improve a design. Remember how character design is all about visual storytelling? So as designers that speak in a visual language, we have more at our disposal than just clothing and props. What else is there? What I'm talking about, of course, is pose and expression. I really wanted to emphasize Teofilo's relationship with the civilization-ending evil tome, so I decided to make him look at the book with a concerned expression. And remember, the face is not the only expressive part of the body. Hands are also super expressive. Ugh. Which really sucks for me because I'm terrible at drawing hands. So I simply tried over and over and over again at the hands until I wasn't really quite happy with them, but I got tired of trying, so good enough. Anyway, what I was going for was to have the hands nervously hover over the book to really showcase that uncertainty. Afterwards, I added some extra holsters to carry the scrolls and kept the bottom half of the character mostly the same. So now, it was time to add the finishing touches. I drew some evil VFX coming out of the tome to give Teofilo a visible reason to look nervous. When adding color, I tried to keep the style close-ish to the original, so I used a more painterly rendering style than I usually do. But since Chashu made it soft shaded and painted, I kinda had to do the same thing. Sucks for me. I hate shading. Oh no. Sorry, not sorry. You should be sorry. Look at all this work I'm forced to do because of you. I mean, I guess it didn't have to go this hard, but I just ended up having too much fun, maybe? For this illustration, I decided to go with the grayscale to color process. If you want to see a video about this process, consider subscribing, and let me know in the comments. And here's how the design turned out. What do you think? But more importantly, what does Chashu, the original designer, think about it?
I love how much his expression and posing sells what's going on with the book. Probably an underrated piece of this is how much the clothes contribute to the posing as well. And I really like the way you stylized the belt in the book. I gotta remember to try deconstructing references so that I can use it in different parts of my designs. Thanks for the feedback.
As for me, I'm actually pretty happy with the results. I don't usually use this process to paint, so I'm pleased with how the rendering came out. The giant evil book holster definitely added a bit of interest to the character design, while still being recognizably the same character. But remember, every single drawing or design can always be improved. So let's take a look at things I could have done better. For one, I definitely could have echoed the hexagonal shapes throughout the character design a bit more. For example, on the belt buckles. I also think the straps on the book holster cover too much of the tome. Remember the book designs I did at the beginning? You can't actually see any of that stuff because the straps are covering everything. It's a bit of a shame because I think being able to see more of the tome's cover could have helped sell how mysterious and ancient it was. Additionally, this lock over here that I added last minute, this is some clip art looking lock. I definitely could have put a bit more thought into it, I think. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, consider redesigning the subscribe button, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye! Oh wait, is that an egg?
It's supposed to be Chashu.
Oh, it's a Chashu! Oh, wait, that makes perfect sense. It's a Chashu, guys. It's obviously a Chashu. Alright, I have vanished Chashu. He's gone.
P. Cat 8 Chashu.